I've been sort of there's a lot of there's this leadership stuff which I have to from my school which I have to do, and I never got a chance to do it before then. So before now, and so
Yeah.
now I'm doing it, and yeah, and then I'm working tomorrow. So yeah,
So you're the school captain of your school.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of the stuff that I have to do. It's just boring.
What
Like,
is it?
well, it's not
What is it?
necessarily boring.
What is
So
it?
like logging. So something that we're doing new this year is that we're actually, unlike previous years in our school, we're actually logging down sort of like what the stuff that we do as captains, so like as house captains, as school captains, as music captains, etc., etc.
These music captains. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got music captains. Funnily enough, we don't actually have a STEM captain, which is pretty sad.
Yeah.
But our school is very much into music. Like our school is if you had to describe our school in like 2 or 3 words, it would be an academic / music school. So it's a mixture of academics and music.
Yeah. So it's a liberal
Uh,
arts school, just not for college.
it's
Yeah.
not you wouldn't really call it an art school either because it doesn't lean too much into anything. But if it leans into anything more than
Well,
other schools would,
my
it's
school,
music.
my school had, I mean, my school preferred academics over everything. I mean, we had a really good sports team. There were controversies all the time that we buy medals or we buy trophies. I don't know how true that is because we used to see the games ourselves. So obviously, when we used to win, in front of all the people, we saw the teams win and they celebrate on the ground itself and all of that. People would be running around throwing bottles and water over here and there and all of that stuff. Yeah, well, our school was mostly focused on academics. They wanted their kids to be good at scoring grades because, well, we had the national champion, I guess, or national at least the player in table tennis, and we had one in, I guess, marathon. I don't remember. But yeah, because I was not into marathon, I was more mostly into cricket and football and all of that. But I've
Yeah.
never got into something like a proper tournament. I mean, other than being in the house team in cricket. But yeah, that was how it was pretty much.
Yeah, in our school, what we've got is, yeah, pretty much the same stuff. In fact, we actually have, so in Australia, we've got something like, so you know how in the USA, you go to the USA, they call football soccer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then they've got their own thing which they call football,
Rugby.
which is like NFL. Yeah, NFL
Rugby.
basically.
Yeah. NFL is the league.
They actually call it
Yeah.
football. They don't call it rugby either, which is kind of
Yeah.
funny. Even though rugby is the obvious inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Australia, we also call football soccer. We don't actually call football,
Yeah.
and that's because we've also got our own version of
Football.
our own of football. But it's not actually based on rugby or anything. It was actually based on some indigenous game that the
Well,
uh,
New
the
Zealand
British
and
noticed.
Australia had really good tribes, I guess. Really proficient tribes in terms of their diversified ways of living. Because obviously, New Zealand, I think, is a really beautiful country.
Maori, yeah,
And
the Maori tribes, yeah.
yeah, and people forget to put it on the map, anyways. But that's. But
New
I don't
Zealand's
know
kind of a
why.
running joke.
Yeah.
New Zealand's kind of a running joke. Like even in Australia, Australians are basically New Zealanders, and New Zealanders are basically Australians. So, it's
Yeah.
kind of like a running joke that like you go to the one country where it's basically Australia. It's basically Australia. Um, So a lot of people in Australia go to New Zealand because it's so similar to Australia, but then they can brag about it, like, "Oh, I went to New Zealand. You know, I went to New Zealand the other day," which is like really weird. But yeah, so we in our school we started this thing where we would log down exactly what our thinking processes are for coming up with events, new events in the school. Um, what are sort of the difficulties that come with being a captain that not much that isn't really told in like your criteria when you'll become like when you want to be a school captain or a house captain or something like that. um
Right.
so it's kind of like it's sort of like a journal, if you will, like a diary, like a journal. It's
Yeah.
That's what it is. So in it, you throw ideas, you throw, you know, reflections, you do all this cool stuff, in the hopes that future leaders would read it and then they would sort of say, they would sort of prepare themselves for that, or they would be inspired from what's written in it, and then they would come up with their own ideas, and
Yeah.
slowly but surely the school would eventually become a better place.
Right.
um,
Um. Well,
Better
do
place
you
than
like
what it
do
was.
you like school? Like just going to school?
Going to school, it really depends on the mood. Sometimes I feel indifferent, so it's like, I have to go to school. Okay, it's not that bad. Um, Other times, like, I want to go to school, genuinely want to go to school. Um, Other times I'm just like, no, no
So
school,
what's the
no, I
ratio
don't want to
like?
go.
Okay, so three parameters in a scale of 1 to 10. Score them. Like how
Okay,
many? Like how often is it? Let's give you a month. Out of 30
in
days. Yeah. How many
yeah.
days would you feel the first way, the second way, and then the latter way?
So okay, first way, which is I feel indifferent, is probably like 80%, like
Well,
like
okay.
80% of the time. I feel indifferent. Like I could not
Yeah.
care less if I went to school or not. It's like, yeah, I gotta go to school. It's
Yeah. It's
education.
just a
It
normal
might not
day.
be the best. It might not be the best of fun, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Um, uh, then there's the 10% of the 5 to 10% of the time, where I actually feel like
Yeah.
going to school. It's like 5%, 5% ish, and then 15% of the time, no,
Oh.
no, 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 no,
Quite
please,
specific.
no.
Quite specific. Okay. How big is your school? Like, if you have an
Uh,
idea.
Roughly 500 students from
No, no, not in
uh
terms of that. Not terms of population or student count. Um, how big? I mean, by land area.
by land area. It's actually fairly big, but it's one campus. That's it. It's one campus, and I don't know how
Mine
big,
acres
but
something. Any idea? I mean, at
let me.
our school, normal kids also used to have an idea of how big the school is, like a rough average of it.
We never know. We never know.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we actually had a land dispute with the local government, which is funny. About 5 hectares.
Okay, 5 hectares
Five
is
hectares.
1 hectare is how many acres?
I've got no clue. Hectares. Again, you could just use
I'm
Google
recording,
for
so I'm
this.
not gonna Google that because then, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
if you could just
So
Google that.
5 hectares. It's like 12 acres.
12 acres. 1 hectare is 12 acres, or 5 hectares is 12 acres?
5 hectares is 12 acres.
Okay, get that.
Okay. You're probably just
Okay.
internally laughing. That's such a tiny school. But
No,
it's
no. I'm actually contemplating how big would it be in comparison to my school, like in a 3D animation form. So
mm.
yeah, because
Well, to be fair,
my school is certainly even more than double your size. So my school is at think at 24, 28, 28 actually, because it got bigger when I left it. Now I think it might have gone bigger, but the
yeah.
thing is that it's really interesting. After Britishers left India, what we found out statistically in the British Raj was that The Britishers and the church hold the most amount of private land after the government, which is basically public land, in all of India in
Actually,
any
it's
way
the
or
Waqf
form.
board.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Actually, it's the Waqf. So first comes the um, percentage of land. It actually goes Indian Army. So Indian Army holds the most amount of
Yeah,
land.
absolutely, because they're holding all the borders basically. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you got the Indian Army. After that, I think you've got the railway
Yeah, absolutely. They've
authority
got
in
a big
India.
railway system. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you got the Waqf. I don't know how you pronounce it. Waqf board. WAQF. Waqf board. Um.
WAQF. Walk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that is. Okay.
It's some
Move
like
on.
it's some.
Yeah. Cool. 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 Yeah.
Everyone's got the
Walk.
internet here.
Walk.
So what I was saying was,
Walk board. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's yeah. Let me see. Waqf board, India. I think it's yes, the Central Waqf Council,
What does walk
Indian
even mean?
statutory board.
Oh, okay.
I've got no
Statues.
clue,
Okay, statues. I got it.
I
So
think
memorials
yeah.
and statues. So basically, that includes the parliament and every other monument that is publicly available to visit. So palaces, Taj Mahal, Hyderabad forts, Charminar, Qutub Minar, all of these, Sardar Patel statue, which is basically the biggest statue in the world. So, yeah, all of those things. Yeah, and then after that,
Yeah. I don't know what after that was, but I was watching some like news story, and then they were sort of comparing who's got the most who technically owns the largest amount of land in India.
right.
And then they said, oh yeah, the first one's the Indian Army, obviously. The
I mean,
second one is the
that's what I said.
railway network.
After the government, privately, the church and the Jesuits do actually.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think they were sort
Matter
of
of fact,
dissecting.
there's a really interesting story about my school. So actually, my school was started in the name of a justice society. So what that means is basically they were supposed to uh, protect Christianity in India, even at the time of British Raj, because my school was started in 1856, which makes it basically the oldest school in this entire state of Bihar. Um, 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 I mean, yeah, and I think it's the biggest or maybe one of the biggest. I don't remember because there are reserve schools, there are private schools, other private schools that take a lot of
I don't think you
fees.
compare schools
Yeah.
by how rich they are.
I mean,
I think
look,
that's a bit of a bad
the thing
metric.
is, the thing is, look, the thing is that I don't think you'll find a really poor or frugal person at Harvard, right? I mean, that's basically not going to be a case. Very less
No,
chance.
you would find some. You'd probably, they would probably be in the form of a genius who got
Yeah,
a bunch
so
of scholarships.
that's basically like a diamond that you found in coal, right? A bunch of coal,
Hmm.
and then you're like, oh yeah, why not that? Please give me that, right? It's
Yeah,
basically you basically buy talent.
apparently you
It's nothing more. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, what I was suggesting was that
Mm-hmm.
today we talk about I've got two or three topics in mind
I've got
for what we
no.
could talk about.
I've got none. Yeah.
Uh, First one. So the first one actually was the sort of like a reflection of 2022 kind of thing, where you look at the evolution of space technology, right?
Right.
So like that was the first question that I had in mind. The first topic. The second topic was something about the idiotic nature of astronomy pseudoscience. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
pretty dumb.
okay.
And do you discuss any other sciences besides just astronomy on the podcast? Do
Actually,
you actually?
I wanted to talk on actually energy systems in space, energy storage and energy what can you say? Energy making, producing, whatever systems in space, and
So
then
producing stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
and think I also wanted to talk about the integration of computer science because I'm so bad at computer science in particular. Like I can't code much because
I'm
I love
also bad,
hardware.
so don't.
I love hardware.
Yeah,
To be honest, I love hardware. That's why I build
yeah.
my own. Where is that?
I tried hardware. It doesn't work out for me. I don't know why. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, probably the reason why you would
I was
go for
actually going to
astronomy.
suggest Origin of Life.
Yeah.
I was actually
Oh,
going to suggest Origin of Life because you can talk about physics, astronomy, biology, chemistry,
yeah.
everything. It's an interdisciplinary field, and you can
Yeah.
actually get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
So
especially
yeah.
considering the fact that there was,
So I built this.
especially cons-
Nothing rocket sciencey. Actually, it's a power bank.
mm.
Nothing more. So it's got three plugs.
Oh, so you just put a bunch of batteries together,
Yeah. So they're
put
in
it with a.
parallel. They're in parallel. Yeah.
Why don't Oh, so you put them in parallel. Okay, okay, okay,
Because I
okay.
wanted more
I was going to
amperes
ask,
than
like, why wouldn't
voltage.
you put them in series to
Yeah.
increase voltage?
Yeah, so that's a great question because when you want to do that, that's basically when you want to increase the voltage. So I don't
Yeah.
actually have to increase the voltage because my phone takes like what 5 amperes and I can create 14 out of this. 14.8 I guess, yeah. And so
Oh, so
yeah.
then that's the bit of tech which you put on top. It's a current modulator to make sure that the current's at five
Yeah,
amps
this is a
instead of.
current modulator with a transistor here. So the thing is that we're being taught resistors and resistances in school. Uh, Actually, I don't go to school, but I rather go to a coaching institute for PCM specifically, for like it's for JE and all of that stuff. Although I don't know how good I'm gonna do in that, but yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and where is that? Okay. So basically they're still teaching us resistors, and when I went to my uncle, who actually is
Mm.
the person who taught me this, and he basically runs a manufacturing company for electrical appliances in his locality, and like he's a B2B personal guy. He doesn't sell to normal people like customers. He sells to businesses and government and all that. So he taught me this, and he told me that we use transistors now. Um, and well, I thought we use transistors only in computers, right? Because semiconductors are used almost everywhere, from this computer to my microwave to my fridge to my car to my phone, everywhere. um, and then I
Mm.
thought, wow, I mean, this is a great thing. I mean, I didn't know that this thing can also help us work on electricity, and that's better than a transistor. I mean, sorry, a resistor, or even a variable resistor, which we have to actually tweak manually. So this doesn't even need manual tweaks. Um, and then I thought how obsolete the system is, the way it works. You know, to be honest, probably the reason why I hate school. I hated school a lot of times, but yeah, yeah. So that's
Just
how
how
I
obsolete
thought.
the system is. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I came up to the idea. Let's talk the integration of computer science into the space industry today. Anyways, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
anything, as you mentioned, um, about okay, you also wanted to talk about origin of life.
I think. Yeah.
I mean, you know
I
what? I
actually
actually did an episode on origin of life, and it was so bad. To be honest, like I hated it because the person I brought couldn't tell anything, and she had
like
credibility.
no. Was he or she an expert in the field but just had trouble
Not at all.
explaining it?
Not at all. In fact, I asked her that let's do the topics that I see you are involved into, and she was like, "No, I've got this particular topic about origin of life that I'm intrigued by a lot." And she was like, "Let's do that. How about that?" I was like, "Cool," because I was just starting out. I think it was my fifth or sixth episode, anyways. Uh, and then we did it, and she was I don't. I mean, obviously, I don't want to say really bad stuff because that becomes controversial. But yeah, I did not like the particular episode, and there have been instances where I have not particularly liked the conversation because I just not found it satisfactory enough in my own ways. Um, Recently did this
Then
episode
you
with
could
this
just
11-year-old
edit
who was.
edit
Yeah, yeah.
such that it's
Sorry. Yeah, continue. I'm
yeah. Oh,
speaking
yeah,
over
yeah,
top.
yeah. Go ahead. I actually want to hear about it. I didn't get the chance to listen to it, but I want to hear from you. Um,
So this 11-year-old kid from New York, I think he's actually not. Obviously, he's not like a white guy. He's. I think
yeah.
his his origination comes
That's
from Bangladesh.
yeah.
Okay, how I don't know
Mm.
because look, I'm not woke, so I don't really care if I say something and that offends people because
Yeah,
it's not
I
even a
know, I
thing.
know,
It's not even a
I
thing
know.
here. It's not even a thing here that you offend people out of saying something. It's not even a thing. People are not as sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So what I'm saying is, I did that episode with him. Really smart kid for an 11-year-old. I think my brother's 11. I mean, obviously, in front of him, he would sound really dumb AF. But yeah.
Mm.
But I think when I asked him a few things, he was also like, I mean, if let's say he's 11 and he is in grade 12 actually right now, so he's going to graduate this year, and then he's applying to Harvard for his bachelor's in physics, and then he wishes to do his PhD by the time he's my age, basically our age. You're 16 or something, right? Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going to basically be pursuing his PhD by that time, and he said a few things, like how can if I asked him about God, like what do you think about God as a physicist, because I wanted this kid to still feel like he's some magical thing because he's like kind of special. I don't want to like bash him down, obviously, but yeah. So what do you think about God? And it's like, you know, I don't like the physical aspect of God, and because he's a Muslim, he doesn't like the Hindu idea of God. And I was not gonna say that obviously because, okay, that's religious. So I was like, okay, what about the 1 billion people around the world that believe in the same idea? It's like they can't prove it. I was like, well, if you can't see something, does it have to mean that it doesn't exist? Does dark matter work that way? I wanted to say that, and I didn't, because first of all, that I was dumb enough that that thing didn't come to my mind, first of all, and then when it did,
Actually, that's
actually,
actually a smart thing. Your brain was smart for that instant. It
yeah,
actually no, because here's the thing. Here's the
yeah,
thing. In all honesty, if you say that stuff and it goes online, people will start questioning your legitimate authority. They'll just sort of be like, "What does this guy think he is? This guy asked a sincere question to
yeah,
an 11-year-old. The 11-year-old provides a decent response on his personal opinions, and then he goes
yeah,
bashing him for his
yeah, yeah,
opinion.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
trust me, all the woke people will be after you. But
yeah. I didn't do that.
if I had to be completely honest, about
Well,
the answer to the question.
prevention of getting cancelled. But who will cancel me anyways? I mean, I've not got a million people around me, but yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty much the way. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. So
but
let's
yeah, it's
move on to our
interesting.
topic. So yeah, what did you want to
Yeah,
talk about?
um, I guess you could just bring up the old questions that you
This is a
asked the other
good
person, and you could
therapy.
just sort of do a redo.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry,
this is good
you could just
therapy.
sort of do like a
Just
redo
talking
episode.
with him,
Yeah,
with like
yeah, like you could
with
just
him.
sort of bring up the old questions, and you can just sort of ask
I
them
don't know if he's
again.
gonna
Like
do
do
that
like
again.
a
I don't think he's gonna do that. He's gonna like
no. Like
maybe
you
delay.
okay? So you take the questions from that episode and you ask those questions to me
Oh,
instead.
so that's what you want to do right now. Actually, most
I
of those
mean,
questions were
that
not
would
even
be
related to physics or whatever or ideas. Actually, I was trying to, because the main aim of that episode that I discussed in the beginning. Actually, if you just hear to it, was what was where I said was I am actually going to try to understand the way your brain works. So that's the thing. So it was
oh okay,
basically him, him,
okay,
him,
okay.
him, him. Yeah. There was one or two instances where I asked something that would be generalized to somebody else, to be honest. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty much
Yeah.
like that.
Anyway, so I guess I'll
Hmm.
sort of start.
Yeah.
So welcome to the Whimper Podcast. The I'm sorry. My name's Welcome to the Whimper Podcast, everyone. My name's Rudra, and we're going to keep things simple and not goofy this time because I am the host now. Sorry, my bad. The flu, it's spreading and stuff. Anyway, and
Yeah.
we've got
This is a good
Divyansh here,
therapy,
who's going.
getting to talk to someone every Tuesday. It's good. It's good.
True. Yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
Because
So,
I've got no friends, to be honest. So yeah.
yeah,
Okay. In the
I've
physical
got.
world.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so Divyansh, you
Yeah.
okay? So you said that you've got zero physical friends. Let's say
Yeah.
you wanted to create a friend. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on how exactly you would go about creating life, and then letting that life evolve into your best friend?
So you're talking about creating an entire entity, physical entity, right? And like as a
Well, how would you
friend.
go about getting life for
Life.
starters?
Okay. I would like to explore Titan, to be honest. Actually, in fact, Titan is one of those areas, like as a moon, as a celestial body, that I wish to explore. I mean, not as an astronaut, but as a wish to work on in the future. Like SpaceX is focused on Mars. I want to focus on Titan. It's like that. And basically, no company is working on Titan, anyways. Um, and the thing is that actually Titan turns out to be a better a place than Mars. The only con is it's too far from Sun, right? And that actually can be fixed. That is it's not the thing that it's not a fixable problem. It's pretty fixable. The only thing is energy generation for that amount of temperature to sort of reach where a human can survive. So let's say it's at, I don't know how low the temperature is. Let's say minus 100 degrees Celsius. That's really low, right? So in that case, what you do is basically you need to create 115 degree Celsius, because that's, I mean, 15 degrees Celsius is, let's say, the average temperature of soil on Earth, land on Earth. It's not even the atmospheric temperature. It's pretty much like that. And okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was
Yeah,
hearing you the entire time. So
yeah.
basically, what you're saying is that you would need some sort of starting conditions to sort of create life. Um, that's obviously a lot different to what some people say. Where some people say, no, 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 some guy came in and he like put the molecules together, and that's how he
Um,
created life on Earth. And that's
well,
kind of the idea of
I
I
mean,
don't I don't.
I'm paralyzed by that idea, anyways.
Anyway,
Look,
so
the way the
it,
world works is not the way you think it works. Pretty much.
yeah,
That's a philosophical idea. I know how bad it sounds. I'm not a philosopher, but that's the way it is. Don't believe
yeah,
it, not. I don't care. Pretty much. I'm not
mm,
woke. I don't get.
yeah.
What do you say? What is that? I forget words all the time.
But what I was
Okay,
saying
let's
was
let's
is
forget
that
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
But
get
what I was
offended.
saying
I
was
don't get offended. Okay, by
yeah.
anything that people say to me.
Mm.
Yeah, pretty much.
What I was saying was that
Hmm.
there are some people who a lot of people refer to them as younger. Sorry, not young Earth creationists. They just refer to themselves as like creationists, and they sort of believe that everything was created by God, and that
Oh.
God came in and he like put the
Hmm.
molecules together,
Hmm.
or she, or whichever God you believe in. I don't
Hmm.
know. They
I
came in.
don't think the idea of God is a problem. The
Yeah.
the problem is where you think that every like okay, look, I respect people who say there's something beyond science that we can't contemplate, and I accept
Yeah.
that. It's like that. It's like that for them. Okay, and
Mm.
I think that's a good idea. If scientists do that all the time, a good scientists who are like really good, like very
Mm.
capable, very successful in their fields, they believe the same thing. It's not like people don't believe in God, or I don't think that atheists, like core, like hardcore atheists, are good. my like in terms of if you ask them, do you want to believe in God if you could, they would answer straight no. Like even if they get to know that God actually exists, so they would still not believe. So it's basically like they would become the flat earthers of that time. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Um.
it's like that.
Yeah.
Um, well, there are flexible people like me who want to, who want to keep my mentality and mindset this way, that well, I want to be as flexible as possible to new ideas so that I could just form my own arguments and my own opinions on them, and not actually get my arguments and opinions get formulated by somebody else's. It's pretty much like and especially it's really hard, obviously, in the world we're living right now. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I think
What I was actually saying was is that the point that I was trying to get to was actually that
it's becoming
um,
political. Yeah.
no, not well. Okay, yes, that's also true. But what I was actually getting to the point of is that a lot of these creationists, some of these creationists, they know that their ideas, like that scientifically speaking, there's the idea of abiogenesis, that something came from, like life
Mm,
came from, just a series of increasingly complicated
mm,
organic chemical reactions,
right.
and that eventually produced something that was self-sustaining,
Mm,
which is referred to as life, the very first protocell. And then that slowly evolved under natural selection and other mechanisms to produce everything that we know of today.
mm,
There are some people who sort of say, no, no, that doesn't fit my worldview. Therefore, I'm going to deny it at all costs.
mm,
Which is like, okay, your belief, whatever you want to do, but don't go around trying to force other people to believe that as well.
mm,
Especially when it's not scientifically correct. Like, don't just, yeah. So there's this guy.
mm,
It is so funny. I've been watching this like for the last I don't know how
mm.
many years.
Yeah.
Ever since it came out, there's this guy. His name is Doctor
Mm,
Doctor. Wait for this.
mm,
Doctor James Tour, and he does not believe that life was created from non-life in an
mm.
organic, scientific way, as described by like current theories
Scientists.
on
Yeah.
abiogenesis, right?
Mm. So he
And
believes
he
the
had
idea of creators.
basically intelligent design, that someone
Yeah.
intelligent came in and he
Mm.
designed all the life that we know of
Actually, I
today.
was watching this series. It's pretty popular. My uncle suggested me to watch that, and he said that it's mind-boggling. If you watch it, your brain's gonna explode and all of that. Pretty simple, actually. It's nothing too complex, to be honest. Um,
Mm.
so the thing is that Ancient Aliens is the name of the documentary.
Oh
I know
no,
you. I know
no,
you know
not
that,
ancient aliens,
and
not
and
ancient
and
aliens.
and it's so controversial. Look, the thing is, the
It
best
is
part is
okay.
how they explain artifacts. How they explain artifacts is that good?
Some
Um,
form of ancient
yeah,
technology.
but then saying that somebody came in, f'd it all up, and told us do this, or well, we're not gonna help you get better
Aliens.
or whatever.
Yeah, no,
Is
like, oh my gosh, you should watch the ancient. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Anyone who wants a crash course on
ancient
pseudoscience,
aliens. Okay.
watch.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Mm,
returning to Doctor Tour,
yeah.
he's a bit of a hot pot. So
Mm,
he's a guy who gets really angry really quickly, and
mm.
he's like, I am this good person that believes in Jesus with all my heart, and like I believe that abiogenesis is wrong because Scripture says so.
How many types of
Um,
Christians are there? First
I
of all.
mean, so you've got the okay. Well, we won't go delve into that much, but
Yeah.
what we will say is there are some extreme people who sort of believe Scripture over actual scientific data, and
Yeah.
then, funnily enough, Dr. Tour actually tries to use science to prove his point, which is
Mm,
so funny. And he does so by quote mining. So basically,
mm,
um, deliberately
mm,
misrepresenting quotes
mm.
from papers
Well,
or from
so,
people's
so, so
statements.
yeah. So what are you like from religion, like by birth?
Hindu.
Hindu. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. The thing is that if you read the biblistic scriptures, actually, the ancient scriptures, you'll find more science in there than they are speaking right now. Because, we tend to go towards the idea that religion is actually something which has a really thick, dark line from science. Not the case, actually. It was
It's
not. And matter of
very
fact,
thin.
matter of fact, I actually wrote an 800-word article between how Hinduism and Christianity and science integrate into one another to bring a idea where we can stand on and say that this is the idea on which the society stands today, and that's how it has been for the past whatever amount of years the civilization has been. And I think that was the best article I ever wrote, because it took me around 50 hours worth of lecture to watch and write down notes and stuff, and then over that I have to write that article, and I was really proud of writing that. And I was like, yeah, this is the best piece of work I've written so far in like writing. And that's the thing, people just don't realize that science was actually one of the biggest major parts of religious texts. And I think maybe, yeah, that's how people are
Yeah.
creating their
There's
arguments.
there's definitely some stuff in scriptures that sort of say that sort of hint at science, but it's important not to um overstate their significance. So a lot of people, if you go onto YouTube, there's a lot of these like really like controversial videos. So you got ancient aliens, and they're like, oh my gosh, look at these coincidences. Oh, that must mean the aliens were here at some point. Oh my gosh, the aliens built all these giant crop circles and whatnot. Um, and then there's other videos where they're sort of saying, oh my gosh, look at these coincidences. 369. Oh my gosh, the 369 numbers. Oh my gosh. Look at this coincidence. 864. Oh my gosh. Um, and the
Yeah.
sort of I and the sort of idea that like with pseudoscience in general is either um this is all wrong because I say so, or because I have some agenda to follow, scientifically speaking, um, or it's look at these coincidences, therefore weird conspiracy theory is true, or weird pseudoscientific theory is true. Those are the two main twists on pseudoscience and how those go. So there's those coincidental ones, but then there's also stuff like Dr. Tua, who again he so what he did was is that he's been denying origin of life research for as long as anyone can remember. He's a synthetic
Including
chemist,
Darwin?
right?
Including
Sorry.
Darwin?
So yeah, what he does is he sort of says, "Look,
Mm.
I know the chemistry because I'm a synthetic chemist, right?
Right.
He's actually a doctor he's actually got a PhD in synthetic chemistry. So he
Yeah.
actually does hold a doctor title.
Mm.
But
Nice.
he sort of says, since I know chemistry, and to be fair, the chemistry that he does is very niche. It doesn't actually apply to origin of life research.
Right.
But he sort of says, look, I'm a doctor, I know chemistry. Therefore, if I know chemistry, I can understand the chemistry of life that happens in life, and therefore I'll prove that all of this is nonsense. All of this origin of life stuff is nonsense. But he really just he makes himself look like a bit of an idiot to everyone with a science who actually does research in the area. He looks a bit
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
Let's just
Not to
say
the
this is
general
an
public.
understatement.
Not to the general public, though. Matter of fact, I think most
So,
people would start saying, yeah, you're right, I mean, unless
yeah,
and
some
until there are
people do
some
say that
really
he's
witty
right.
people, unless and until there are some really witty people, anonymous witty Redditors who will, figure that out. And they'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's
this
what
is not wrong. I mean,
yeah, so that's
yeah.
what a lot of debunk channels do on YouTube. There's actually this whole community of YouTube channels now, which are dedicated to debunking stuff. So so I've mentioned this like 3 or 4 times in previous podcasts, but there's a guy called Professor Dave Explains, right? He does a
Obviously.
bunch of debunks already, right? He
Yeah.
did the flat Earth debunk.
Right.
He did he did a debunk on vaccines or something like that. He did a debunk on that. He does basically scientific debunk, so sort of saying, look, this pseudoscientific theory, this is wrong because such and such.
Right.
He did the same thing with Dr. Tour. So he noticed that a lot of people who were watching his videos on origin of life research, because he makes tutorials, a lot of people started commenting, no, that's not true, Dr. Tour said so, check his video out, see, my point is right. That's how he knows,
Mm-hmm.
um, Dr. Tour is a pretty prominent guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
um, he's known for making a lot of videos on the topic, and so Professor Dave, he's not actually a professor,
Yeah.
sort of was like, all right, let's go debunk this guy because the claims that he makes is completely false. Life actually did originate from like increasingly complex organic reactions, abiogenesis, all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So he did a
Right.
debunk, and he sort of was like pretty light on Dr. Tour. He sort of said, look, mate, I think you've heavily mischaracterized the research. I don't think you understand the research very well, and that's completely fine. But you shouldn't be doing this. Um, uh, it's completely fine that you have your religious views. I'm not going to try and do it, attack that. But what I will say is that the reason why you would be doing all this stuff is because the theory of origin of life
Yeah.
is against whatever you believe in, against your religious beliefs, and that's why you go out and do this sort of stuff. And it was like fairly lighthearted. He wanted to try and like make a fairly uh, um, like a sort of very
Heated
light-hearted
conversation.
debunk. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, then he sort of then Dr. Tour came out and he's like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. What did you just say about me? And like he gets very angry very quickly, very angry very quickly. He started screaming at the camera. Doctor Professor Dave then sort of does another then Dr. Tua, actually, what he does is he does like a 9-part abiogenesis series in which he tries to like disprove the whole theory of abiogenesis. um Professor Day comes in and he just makes 2 episodes, and those 2 episodes debunk 9 episodes worth of viewing. And then
Mm.
Dr. Tua sort of fizzled out for about a year or two, and then he comes back with more content. He's like, no, more content. Abiogenesis is clearly false. Um,
Mm.
and he signed this like agreement thingy called like a dissent to Darwinism, which basically meant that, oh, I don't believe evolution. Here's my signature because I don't believe in it, and I support like whatever this organization is doing.
Right.
So that's Dr. Tour. And then they actually did a full-on debate. They actually did a debate in Rice University. And Rice
Hmm.
University, for those who don't know,
Yeah.
is a very prestigious university in the USA. And it was
Yeah.
the very same university where John F. Kennedy in 1962 or
Mm.
1961 or something like that said that they would send people to the moon by the end of the decade. So that
Mm.
was the same university. And they did that debate in that same university, and oh my gosh, there's a lot of juicy stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
like so what do you think? So what are the different mechanisms by which origin of life can come about, from your understanding?
Do I look like an alien right now?
No.
Okay. So, um, I think the thing is okay. So the one prominent theory that says, I mean, I know two to the best actually, because I'm not actually involved into biology or origin of life or all these topics. As I said, I had a really bad episode, and so I got almost zero insights from it, because most of the times I thought that I know more than the guest. But yeah, so the thing is, trees came first. It's Let's explain it in layman. Trees came first, then these really small microbes, and then Then these small insects like what are they called? Um, well, tardigrades, obviously, which are a form of microbes, so they're highly adaptable. And then um, other beings. What is that really popular one? I don't remember many names, but yeah. And then, when you talk about the main species that actually have started to dominate the planet by the time there were dinosaurs actually originated from the oceans, like out of fishes. Then fishes got tails and legs and all that, and then this also started coming to ground, which made them amphibians. Then reptiles, from reptiles to mammals and all of that, and then obviously came on to apes and all of that. And so this is basically like one of the more Darwinian explanations that I think is the most simple one, probably and that's why, because it supports the Occam's razor to the highest, and that's why I quite like it, because it doesn't break my head. One other Another one is basically that humans, particularly, not any other beings, because I don't know why we have this elitism within ourselves, that this sense of entitlement that we are different from other beings and we are smartest, or we are on the top of the food chain, and hence we are we are different, so much so that we think that we started making this theory that actually we've come from another planets, and not as particularly humans, but we were basically remnants of some, like, maybe some really small biological beings or microbes that were actually sticking to some form of asteroids or whatever that actually crashed into it, and then they survived. And overall, and after some time when they evolved, they brought in mammals that brought in humans or whatever. And I mean, look, that's definitely one of those. I mean, those ideas that I don't particularly support. Um, I think Okay, so I think the dinosaur asteroid was called Chicxulub, and Chicxulub, I think, was one of the most revolutionary events that happened in the history of the world. And I think my brain gets confused, like what has happened, what happened after that, that some particular form of mammal survived that has brought in humans. Because certainly apes were not there, right? The apes, and if you want to say apes, and particularly monkeys and these four-legged beings, they're just a couple of 100,000 years old, right? Human civilization, 15, 20. Okay.
15,
Religion, if you
yeah.
talk, yeah, religion, if you talk about 12,000-year old. I mean, okay, people can bash me if they are from different religion, but yeah, Hindus would agree. 12,000 years old, so Hinduism. Um,
12, I would actually say 5,000 years.
Hinduism,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Hinduism is much older than that, and there's particular evidence for 8,000. There is evidence for 8,000. 12,000 is what some of these we can say gurus and Hindu saints or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I
They
think
say,
there's a, like, if you read the scriptures,
yeah,
um
because
they say
The
like
Vedas
like
are,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like some evidence to suggest like there were people,
Mm-hmm.
like, in this is in the scriptures, but like
Mm-hmm.
there were like these sages, like,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously they're referring to Hindu
Mm-hmm.
sages from
Yeah.
15,000 years ago.
No, no.
From our time right now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
15,000 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
The thing is, I don't know if this how true this is, but I think and NASA already did this some form of calculation, and then some politician really, because I think this was a really respected politician, and I respect him particularly, personally, because he talks data. Okay, he talks in numbers, and he doesn't like make jargon up. So that's why I like him. And
who is this person?
I don't remember the name. As I said, I'm really bad at memory. Actually, it was not also a particular 1 hour long argument. I saw a really short video of that, and basically he said that one of NASA's softwares named Astronomica or something, or Astromica. I don't remember.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it was able to figure out the timeline of Ramayana, and then it was able to calculate when Lord Rama was born by date, like some 12th of July 2700 some BC. So basically that was 4,000 years from, like before today.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think I remember
Whereas,
that. So there was this
yeah,
guy. Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah. So there was this guy. and I think he wrote in his book. He actually has a book on when the Mahabharata happened.
Yeah.
And what he does is he uses astronomical observations written in the scriptures, within the scriptures, and he sort of puts those in to astronomica, and then he predicts when those were last visible at specific locations.
Yeah.
For Mahabharata, it was predicted it was 7,000 years ago. So in like the
Yeah.
5,000
So the thing is,
BCE.
we consider Mahabharata and Ramayana to be really early, but the thing is actually that these were some of the events that happened in the later stages of Hinduism and the Hindu scriptures. Actually, the Vedas describe things before that, like far beyond that, like at the time scales of ten
There's
thousand
stuff
years
that they do
before.
mention, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard to put a it's hard to it's hard to have the like there's just some descriptions in what they've said that seems a bit out of touch. You wouldn't really consider those. And this is okay. And by the way, this section here, which we're talking about, this is completely like opinions. This is opinions based. So, like, I just want to throw it out there. There's this area of like um history is sort of only explored by a very niche group of people. It's not
Yeah.
actually it's not it's you won't find this anywhere in the scientific literature. So this is
Well.
so I'll just put a disclaimer. This is like all completely personal beliefs and based on the hearings of others. So yeah, if you yeah, just in case no one knows, no one knew up till now. But what I was saying was is that the uh, uh, the predictions that he made were insane. Like like there are some things in the Vedas that or in the texts in general that are just very out of touch. You wouldn't sort of expect to see them
Okay. So,
in
like, give me
like
some examples that I
but
understand.
there's an explanation for this stuff. So like when people sort of say read the scriptures, oh my gosh, they
Yeah.
reveal AI technology and all this stuff.
No, I'm not saying
Like
that. I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah, you
what do you
could look at
mean?
it that way, but it's
Yeah, yeah.
you can't really say that that is the original intention of the scriptures.
I mean, look,
That could
the
be just
thing
sort of
is,
you imparting your own interpretation onto the scriptures and sort of saying, oh look, they said that AI technology, oh my gosh.
I don't think
So
particularly artificial intelligence or computer science has ever been introduced into the Hindu
there's actually
scriptures.
so there's actually evidence to suggest that there's so that like algebra, for example,
Algebra, definitely
everyone knows that
math.
there was
Math
in
is profound. Vedic math is actually a particular subject that is
there's
taught to
the
kids. Yeah.
Surya Siddhanta.
Yeah.
There was these texts on astronomy, although most of it has been erased for some by the British. So
Yeah. Not British, actually.
unfortunately,
Not the British.
but just in
Actually,
general, over the years
yeah.
they've been
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they've just been destroyed. Um, so
Yeah.
it's pretty sad to see that stuff, but stuff being destroyed. But they sort of show that like ancient people weren't all that dumb, but but it's hard to sort of because a lot of people they sort of say, "Oh my gosh, in the Mahabharata there was this guy and his name was Barbarik, and he was so strong and all this and all that, but he couldn't remember anyone's faces properly, and he had this robotic voice, and when he took his head off um, and gave it to Sri Krishna, they apparently his entire face was made of metal,
Yeah.
right? And then everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, that must mean he was a robot, right?" Um, and well, you could
No.
look at it that way, and it's like pretty hard to
Yeah.
like look at it any
No,
other
no,
way.
no. The thing is that, okay. So
It's
this.
it's
So
it's hard to put. Yeah.
so there's also this actually entity in the Mahabharata who's called Arjuna, very popular. Obviously, I think
Yes.
everyone knows about. So the
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that Arjuna was. I don't know if I'm saying the right name. If it is Arjuna, good. If it is not, please do your research. But So this entity, this is this person in the Mahabharata who on the battlefield, like he's known for his generosity. The thing is that he he actually he donates his shield, or you can say basically his armor, which is actually
Mm,
not look. The thing is that we see people wearing armors, right? The thing
mm.
is that his body itself, I don't know how to describe
Yeah,
this, like
it
physically or
is
imaginatively, but his body was like the frontal area and the area where basically you kind of protect your body from attacks was
I
actually
can't remember the name, but it's
have.
not Arjuna. It's
I
not
don't
Arjuna,
know.
but
There's
I don't
some
think
guy
so.
who's very generous, and his basically the entire chest and the or entire torso is made out of metal or of
Yeah.
some sorts, and then he basically takes out that entire armor out of, like, basically tears it out of his body and gives it to his guru or his I think his teacher, who whatever his name is.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Because he
like
demands for it.
the
Yeah,
armor's embedded into the actual chest.
yeah, yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like it's on top. It's in the. Oh, okay. I think it was like
Hmm.
Surya Putra, like
No
the
idea.
son of Surya or something like that, because the armor was. I don't know. Anyway, let's move out of this.
Hmm.
Out of this. But this is just like so a lot of people sort of use religious scriptures and then draw coincidences to either modern things or stuff like that to sort of say, look at this, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
look at that, therefore accept the
Yeah, it's
pseudoscientific
being
theory.
romanticized, I think, a lot more these days than it was
Yeah,
being done before.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Coincidences are coincidences,
Saying things like
like
Sanskrit is better than English for code. Not many people. Only 26,000 people in the world know Sanskrit properly. The thing
yeah,
is that nobody
yeah.
uses
So
it.
what I was saying was that there's
Mm.
there's a fine line between what's actually considered science and what's considered pseudoscience
Yeah.
or religion or anything but science. And that thing is that there's a certain there's a certain gray area where you consider coincidences. So
Mm.
in, for example, astronomy, right? In
Mm.
astronomy, Galileo like looked at Jupiter, looked at the four planets, and then he sort of said, um, coincidence that they are moving around Jupiter, but like they're not moving around Earth. And so he said, well, if they're moving around, if these moons are moving around Jupiter, then why is it so hard to believe that the Earth is moving around the sun? Um, so
Mm.
like there's and then there's like I think that was a pretty bad example, but there's just a ton of instances where there's coincidences, but those coincidences don't lie in the numbers themselves. Like for example, someone goes, do this little equation here. This is the
Mm.
answer. Look at the answer. Compare the answer to this number here. Do you see a connection? Right. Instead, it's sort of more looking at behaviors, coincidental behaviors. So, for example, if you look at the precession of Mercury's orbit around the sun, that wasn't explained by Newton's laws, but conveniently, that was explained by Einstein's theory of relativity, general relativity. So, that's sort of an example where it's like coincidence that Einstein's theory of general relativity explains this behavior.
Mm.
No, that's evidence. It's from behavioral coincidences from which theories or hypotheses can arise. Whereas if you're simply looking at coincidences in numbers without any context, that's a bit misleading, because then you're just sort of putting meaning into something that shouldn't inherently have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like saying, "Oh, what happened before the Big Bang?" It's a bit of a
Yeah.
dumb statement to make, because um, you're talking
The
about
Big Bang
a
happened
point in
again.
time.
How about that?
Y-
The Big Bang
Yeah,
happened again.
you're yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about, scientifically speaking, talking about before the Big Bang is a meaningless question.
Mm-hmm.
It's about talking about a point of time
Yeah.
before time was even created.
Right.
So it's like,
Okay.
why?
Let's talk about that then. What do you think? Like, what is your particular way of, like? Okay, let's say the Big Bang is a thing because it's the most profound idea, most researched, and most confident
Yeah.
idea. Okay. Let's say if you are asked the question, what happened before Big Bang, and there's a possibility
I
that
just say it's. I'm sorry. I know this might be a
it's
bit of a dumb answer.
yeah,
Sorry, it might seem like a very unscientific
yeah.
answer or a very short answer, or not a
What?
satisfying answer.
What is it?
But it's an unscientific thing to talk about. There is
What?
no answer. There is no answer. Science cannot provide an answer to such a question
Um.
because the question itself is meaningless.
Well, why? What, I mean, I think that that question, um, saying that what
It's good to
happened
talk
before
about.
the Big Bang is basically asking the question about time more than about the event, particularly.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree that it's you can ask such questions uh in philosophy. It's in philosophy. Like for example, are we living in a simulation? You can ask that 100% in a philosophy discussion.
Yeah.
But in if you were to ask that scientifically, everyone would just laugh at you.
Yeah.
Not because it's a dumb question. It's not a dumb question. It's a completely legitimate question. It's
Mm.
just there is no way to scientifically prove this question. There is no scientific evidence you can provide to prove or disprove the existence of a simulation
Right.
of us living in
Mm. Cool. And
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Move on. Move on.
yeah. The same thing applies with what happened before the Big Bang. It's not like it's a terrible question. It's a completely legitimate question. It's just a matter of there is no scientific evidence that you can provide to prove what exactly happened before the Big Bang. Because you can't go back before the Big Bang. We can't even go
Right.
back more than
I
380,000
think
years after the Big
I
Bang.
think there's an interesting discovery of this particular. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a bunch of black holes or is it a bunch of what? I mean, it's definitely a bunch of celestial bodies. I don't know if you know about this, but they they were discovered, and then actually scientists and astronomers found or calculated their age to be older than the universe. And I was like, how is that possible? I mean, obviously everyone is
It's
like, how is that possible? But yeah, basically a pseudo scientific thing. I don't know
it's yeah, it's
how
become a pseudoscientific
profound
thing.
this.
It's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. I don't know how profoundly it has been researched on. Like, is there a proper math on it? I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
think so there was this one star, I believe it is, that was measured to be older than the age of the universe, which was like
Yeah.
I think it was its mean age was 14.2 billion years.
Right.
Um problem with that is that
Mm-hmm.
it's a mean. There's something called errors, right? There's errors in your data. There's always errors
Yeah.
in your data.
Yeah.
So when the media was reporting this
Mm-hmm.
state like this discovery that, oh my gosh, we found a star that's older than the age of the universe, they
Mm-hmm.
did not put in the fact that there's errors in the data. And if you actually look at the errors are big enough such that you can still say that that the star formed after the beginning of the universe.
Right.
That's so it's yeah. I think that's a mistake on the media's part. And yeah, now it's just become a big pseudoscientific thing. So yeah, it did not disprove anything. It's just something that's a bit dumb. Um,
Well, well, I mean, I think that obviously we need to be particularly more open, um, uh, to believing that what we are believing right now might not be true. Like, if you are believing that the universe is 13.8 billion years old, precise, right?
yeah.
Why can't you be more open to the idea maybe it's older, not younger, if it's older?
Because 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 our models are fairly accurate on
Yeah, I mean,
how
for
old the
now, for
universe is.
now. What if a better model comes out who pro-
See, here's the
provides?
thing. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. We know fairly well how old the universe is. Now, obviously,
Mm.
we would be very confident in how old the universe is if we had an exact number for Hubble's constant. But obviously, we don't have that yet. because of the great cosmological problem of the
Yeah.
21st century, right? The Hubble constant problem. We can't accurately, like, all our different studies are giving different values for the Hubble constant,
Mm.
and the errors on those measurements are actually so small that like the scientists are confident that their measurements are, like, cannot overlap with other studies' measurements of the Hubble constant. And there's this really odd thing that's happening where everyone's sort of wondering what exactly is happening. But we do know that the Hubble constant is roughly in between 68 to 72 ish. I can't remember the units, but it's roughly 68 to 72. Um, and if you were to apply Hubble's constant across the entire history of the universe, like, sort of look, so you sort of look out at the furthest thing you can look at, and you sort of rewinded the clock using Hubble's constant and Einstein's theories, Einstein's equations, then what you would end up with is you would end up with an age that's roughly 13.7, 13.8 billion years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's like very hard to that's
Yeah.
very hard to uh,
Break the.
yeah, it's very hard.
Mm.
And the errors on that aren't actually too much. They're
Yeah.
only like maybe 100 million years or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, talking about, let's say, the
Yeah.
universe is 13.8 billion years old. How old will it go, and what are the theories on it?
uh well, look, the age of the universe is actually pretty solid right now. It doesn't
I
look
mean,
like it's
obviously,
changing anytime.
13.8 billion years don't seem to fly by, anyways, right? I mean,
Yeah.
let's say, obviously, the universe has to end someday, some time, not day. And well, how old should that be? Like, what is the time at which everything that exists right now ends? Like, every other star, the biggest and the youngest of stars, the
Yeah.
youngest of galaxies, the youngest of black holes that are born just right now, and
Yeah.
they're going to go for the next whatever billions of years, tens of billions of years. Yeah, all of it
Yeah.
just gone. Yeah.
Heat death. Ooh, okay, that's a bit
No,
of a hard question.
I don't
I
think
don't
heat death.
exactly remember the number off the top of my head. I think
Mhm.
the last star will die 100 trillion years from now, but don't take my word for it.
I think Melody Sheep, if you've known the channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've watched this video. That's why. That's
Yeah.
why. That's where I'm getting the number
I
from.
think,
I think.
okay, from that I actually remember the exact number. So it was 740 billion trillion years or something, which is a lot.
Yeah, let's just say it's a long time.
Yeah.
Even 100 trillion years till the last star dies. That's a
Obviously.
long, 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 long time,
I
especially in
mean,
human timescales.
yeah. Yeah.
It is a very long, long,
Who
long, long, long
cares?
time.
Human time scale. Really? You
Human
really wanna?
timescales are tiny. Human time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. One thing to finish off, because
We have to go. Yeah.
unfortunately I have to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, One thing I'll finish off with though is that uh, I think I think the universe itself teaches us humility. It
Right.
teaches us humility. The reason why is because you look at the universe, nothing significant happens in a year.
Hmm.
In the meantime, we're on one planet. We are on
One
one planet
ball of
out of
rock.
quadrillions in the universe, right? In the observable universe. We don't even know how big the
Actually,
actual
yeah.
universe is. Yeah. And we're just on one insignificant dot,
Yeah.
and yet we have the audacity to say that everyone cares about our problems, right? No one cares. Your problems are insignificant,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
um so
Absolutely.
if no one right, if no one cares who you are, no, the universe doesn't care who you are, right?
Isn't that
Have some
isn't that
humility.
also nihilistic to certainty? I don't know.
It is
Yeah.
it doesn't. Here's the thing. I think it's a mixture of, you need to you need to still complete your responsibilities. You need to complete your
Obviously.
responsibilities to a certain extent.
Mm.
But it's like if for example something bad has to happen, right? That's when you would sort of take this more nihilistic approach. You would sort of say,
I mean, you
it's
need to.
insignificant. It's
Yeah.
significant to humans, but it's insignificant to literally the entire universe. The
Mm.
universe does not care about your problems. So just
Mm.
focus on what you need to do, and just sort of do that. That's kind of
It's like
the thing.
following the laws of, philosophically speaking. It's like following the laws of nature all the time, but following the laws of man whenever decided. It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and it also teaches us that, like, you know how people say, "Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Look at me, I'm the president of the United States of America," right? Although, like,
Yeah.
it's important to
Sixty
realize
percent of your
the
population
universe
believes in
does
angels.
not care. Like, here's the thing: the universe does not care if you're the president of the United States of America. You're the president of some insignificant dot.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be completely real. You're the president of no one cares.
Yeah.
You're the
I
president of no one cares.
and then the president goes, "Oh, we have got 50 stars," and
Yeah,
it's like, "Oh,
uh,
really?" Yeah.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
yeah. So, like, it also teaches you humility.
Yeah.
Like, we are
Yeah.
insignificant. We are
Yeah.
literally insignificant, but yet we've also got power. We've got this ability to observe the universe in all its glory. Um, there's a saying that goes, "We are the eyes of the universe," right?
Yeah.
To view itself. And so that's kind of what we have to do. We have to make sure that we stick together. We make sure that we at all times have humility um, for who we are, for each other. We look out for each other, um, and we always continue to do our responsibilities, even if those responsibilities
Yeah.
might be like, morally incorrect and stuff like that. So I think that ties well back. That ties back pretty well with the stuff on the Mahabharata stuff, really well, because that's actually written in our scriptures. It's literally you've got it's pretty much just you've got to I think it's yeah, it's written in the scriptures that um everything that you do it's written slightly differently in the context of, like, oh well, when someone dies, they don't actually die, their soul is still there, and, like, that type of stuff. But um in the like, if you were to apply this interpretation, you could say, um if someone dies, or if you kill someone because you were fulfilling your responsibilities, right? That doesn't, like, we're obviously not saying don't kill anyone. That's don't like just don't go around killing people. But um, like, for example, if you're a soldier in a war, your responsibility is to kill the enemy,
Yeah.
right? Defend the country, right?
Yeah.
So so when you kill someone, it's it's a bad thing. Yes, it's a bad thing, but it's a thing that was meant to be done. It was a part of your responsibilities. But more importantly, you just killed one person. It's or like two people or like three people. Um, when you're
Yeah.
at war, it's like it's insignificant. The universe does not care.
I think
All the
that matters.
bloodshed.
I think when you keep yourself attached to as many things as as you can, then these things start to make significant changes in your life. But they really don't hold as much of an importance unless and until you
True, true.
basically. I think because that's the thing. People don't realize. Um, the people in the highest positions are the most insecure, which is the reason why they
Yeah,
have the highest ego. People at the bottom, like the rock bottom, broke, no relationships, no family, no parents, no brothers and sisters, whatever, like, begging, let's say, on the streets. They have nothing to
yeah,
lose. Probably the reason why they're not connected to anything, and then,
yeah. Anyway,
they're basically
I've got to
helpless. So,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. If I sounded like an
Um,
asshole today, I'm sorry because I'm kind of.
I'm also tired, so
Yeah.
don't worry. It's not
Mm.
just you. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll let you rest. Have a good night. I
Oh,
gotta
great.
go. And
Yeah.
I'll see you later. See ya.
Yeah. What are you like going to be doing right now?
Oh, it's like nearly 10 o'clock. So it's
So
10 o'clock.
sleep. So sleep.
Yeah, just sleep, eat, sleep, go. Yeah, I've
Oh,
got to go
you
tomorrow.
sleep
So see ya.
pretty soon. You sleep pretty soon.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Don't worry, don't worry. I actually sometimes I sleep late, sometimes I sleep early. Depends when I need to wake up. So
Wow.
um
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. See
Cool.
ya.
Great.
See ya.
Have a great day.